Welcome to Direction Northeast. Hello, I'm Emily Whitehead. This program is a presentation of the Communications Department of Northeast State Community College. This episode of Direction Northeast will take you from the stages around the world to the classroom. We'll meet our guests and start our discussion following these messages.
My name is Amanda Broom. I'm a mass communications graduate. I work behind and in front of the camera, and I got my start at Northeast State. We are constantly connected to our smartphones and to the internet, and that's why mass communications in particular is incredibly important because we need it. I belong in college because I love learning. I love meeting people, and I love discovering new things. The best part about coming here was a quality, personal education that was also affordable.
Our guest is a multi-platinum recording artist and inspirational educator whose mission is to empower, inspire, and connect people through the power of group music making. He is a founding member of the 90s band Rusted Root, who sold over 3 million records to date. He has appeared on the David Letterman and Conan O'Brien shows, and his music with the band is featured in major motion pictures. Jim Donovan, welcome to Direction Northeast.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Yeah, with all those accomplishments, how did you get your start? What was your starting point?
My initial starting point was second grade. My grandmother took me to Florida, and I saw a marching band. It was the first marching band I'd ever seen, and the drum line, they stopped right in front of me, and it was the bass drums. I'd never seen anything like it. I was from the country, and they started boom, 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 and I could feel the vibration in my chest. And I remember that was the second I went, that's what I'm doing. I gotta do that. I gotta feel this every day. And it wasn't until much later that I was even able to, my parents could afford an instrument and join the school bands and things like that.
Okay, so you are more of the marching band, not so much the teen in the garage band with the big dream of being the rock star, or?
I had that too. I saw high school band as a means to that end. My dream was to play drum set in a band and tour the world and see everything. And it wasn't until my parents we were very poor growing up, so there wasn't money to buy instruments. So I had to get a job. Age 16, worked at Burger King for $3.35 an hour, and I saved up enough to buy a drum set by the time I was 17. No, actually 18. I was 18, and then when I finished high school, I moved to Pittsburgh. Went to the University of Pittsburgh, which is where I found my bandmates from Rusted Root.
Okay. And what kind of bands did you listen to growing up that really inspired you to this is it?
Yeah, the big ones were Led Zeppelin. I was a child of the 80s, so I listened to a lot of the 80s metal, which is kind of funny. The Motley Crue and AC/DC, bands like that. I also like pretty eclectic mix of things. Back in those days, I liked the Talking Heads and Peter Gabriel, people like that.
Okay, so music was kind of like this outlet for you to express yourself.
Very much. I knew that even if I air drummed in my room, to records, that's how I learned how to drum, was just a pair of headphones and sticks and a pretend drum set in my room because I didn't have one. And I just knew that even though I was playing in the air, that when I finished, I felt better. And it was my means to just keep myself together in the years of teen angst.
Okay, so you said that your Rusted Root band, you formed it in college. How did you all get together and meet?
Yeah, I met the bass player, Patrick Norman. He and I had classes together, and I also had a class with one of the singers. Her name was Liz Berlin, and she approached me one day after class and asked me if I would help her and her friend Mike make a demo recording for a Battle of the Bands contest that they wanted to enter. And at first I turned it down because I was so busy, and she persisted, and so I said, well, you know what, give me a cassette tape. But back in the day we had cassette tapes, and I'll listen to it and see if it's something I can add to. And on my way home I listened to it, and upon listening to the very first song, I knew it was something that was very special, and I wanted to be a part of it, and I called her as soon as I got home, and that's how we started.
Okay, so you got your big start in the Battle of the Bands.
We did. We were together for a week. We entered our tape into the contest, and we got a letter the week after that said we had gotten in. We were 32, one of 32 bands out of 128 that entered. And then our show was the week after. So we were only together just for a short period of time. We went and played the Battle of the Bands first round, and we won. And much to all the other bands' surprise, because we'd only been together for days. And that gave us the momentum just to be able to get some club dates in the city of Pittsburgh, and a pretty quick fan base. It happened pretty fast, relatively speaking.
Okay, so that was kind of your point to where you thought this can go somewhere.
The second I heard the music on the tape, I believed it could go somewhere. That's how much it moved me, and it takes a lot to move me.
Yeah. So what was it like whenever you got this band together, and then you're performing on stage with your childhood idols?
Yeah. So we fast forward to 1995. So we started in 1990, and we played clubs, and we unsuccessfully tried to get our first record, which is called Cruel Sun. We tried to get a record deal for it, and nobody wanted it. And we went and played Cleveland, and there was a record label A&R person there who saw us, took our cassette tape back to New York with her, and a year later called me up and said, "Hey, I finally got my boss to listen to your tape, and he really loves it and wants to sign you guys." And that got us to the point where we could play with some of my idols. So we got to open for Page and Plant from Led Zeppelin, which blew my mind. And people like Carlos Santana and Dave Matthews, who at the time was starting out just like us, but great guys.
What's something you learned from them? Were they like open to share things with you and ideas? And
Yeah, Robert Plant was very fatherly. He would like sit with us and give us advice about things. Really just the things we kind of knew, but it was really good to hear from him. Like, don't let a record label tell you what kind of music to make. Always focus on your energy, focus on your performance, things like that. When we got to play with Santana a couple years later, he actually allowed us to come up and play songs with him on stage during his set. And so I got to play a drum set during a few songs every night. And one of the things that he liked to do was to find someone on stage and point at them. And when he pointed, that was your turn to take a solo. And so he did that to me several times. And I had several moments, actually several shows, where I completely blew it, where I failed epically on the Jumbotron in front of 30,000 people. I did it 3 nights in a row. And he still let me try the next day and the day after that, even though I royally messed things up. And so I learned from him how important it is to give people a chance and to never give up on them as the leader.
so it made you. So did he make you feel like you could keep? He gave you the energy to kind of keep going and after one after the other.
Yeah, he was so gracious and knew that it was a possibility that I would mess it up again during his show. And he was the one that came to me and said, "Do you want to try it again?" And I said yes every time. And I figured out that as long as I was saying yes, he was going to keep asking, which to me just was such a gesture of service, a gesture of like a masterful musician who thought enough of wanting to help a young musician that he was willing to sacrifice part of his show for it.
He believed in you so much. How did that make you feel at the time?
It was I didn't understand it. I didn't understand, why would someone who didn't have to do this, just put himself out there like that and extend the invitation to me. And what I realized is that he's way more about helping people than he is even about his show. And to me, like that's the thing I respect the most, is that he valued the service to somebody to help them over the perfection of his show.
Okay, who was your favorite person to play on stage with during the time?
I think that would be him. Yeah,
Okay.
we got a lot of opportunities to do it, and it was just it was like a dream come true every time.
So was touring, was that something that you had anticipated? Was it more? Because you hear these stories about people being so drug out, they're so tired they can't move. Was that something you were prepared for?
I think it's impossible to prepare for touring until you do it and understand the artificial environment that it is. Even though we were very fortunate, we had a bus. Actually, we had a couple buses, and we had bunks on the bus, and they bring you food, and you don't have to do anything but show up and play, which sounds like a dream. But what happens is it's so artificial because we go to every city in the country, but really never see any of it. We see the inside of the bus, and we can look out the window, but there's never time. There's sound check, and there's all these things. And it's incredibly hard on the body, and if someone doesn't take care of themselves when they're out there, even just for a couple days, it's easy to go down pretty fast.
Whenever you first got a call from your agent or somebody, whenever they said, "Hey, we want to put your music in Matilda," and what was that like for you?
Anytime someone wants to use a song, or if I heard it on the radio, it's surreal. Because I remember, I can remember the day that we were writing it. I can remember, hacking through it, and I can remember playing in the club to no people. And when you get a call from, the guys who did Ice Age, for example, it's surreal, and it's really fun, and it's gotten more fun now that I've gotten kids, and they can watch the movie and go, yeah, there's Daddy's song, and they go, oh.
Extra cool factor you get for them.
You get extra points, exactly.
All right, and so you've been doing all of this stuff and then how did you jump into teaching? Because that seems like a...
Yeah, it was a 180. And it was a purposeful 180. After my wife and I had our first child, and actually our second and third, touring was different for me. When you're just without kids, I was married at the time I was on the road. It was my wife and I, and we would tour everywhere together. But then once the kids came, the bus is no place for a baby. And so she would stay home and I would go out. And just the longing and the missing that I would experience, and then they would experience on the other side, just being at home, I realized, wow, this is, it's not worth it. I've gotten to live my dream. I've gotten to do way more than I ever imagined performing. I don't have anything else to prove in that regard, and this is way more important. I need to get myself home, and that's when I started teaching drumming workshops, because I didn't know what else I was going to do. I had no clue, because I had done nothing else but play, and I developed the skill of teaching to the point where in 2005 I was offered a position at a university. They actually created a position for me so that I could come and share what I knew with students. And fast forward 10 years, I'm the chairman of the department now. It's a strange life.
Yeah, tell me about your drum classes and your workshops, and you have retreats, and
Yep.
Tell me a little bit about how those work.
Yeah, so my specialty is bringing people into making music with each other, assuming that they don't have any experience. So I specialize in people who've never done it before, and the goal is to show them that in a short period of time they can have a very meaningful musical experience with other people. And with that comes some important things that go way beyond music, which is the ability to feel like I'm connected to people. So when we make music together, a connection happens. We create community. Not only that, but I learn how to let go of my stress. I feel better, and it increases my well-being. So the music is really the tool a better way to say it is just to help improve life.
Right, and you have a lot of like retreats, and you stay pretty booked up.
Yep.
A lot of corporations come in to build teamwork, right? And you're
Yep.
doing that through music?
I do a program that I'm doing at Northeast today. I did one this morning here called Rhythm Team, and it's exactly that. It's a team building program, and it's designed. We use music as the tool to teach the bigger ideas of mission, of attitude, things like that help us out in the world with with collaborating with people at our jobs. That's one of the big things that's happening in corporate culture, is that we're being asked more and more to collaborate with each other to meet the goals and to solve the problems. And so what Rhythm Team does is we set up a mock situation where a group has to create something together with only minimal tools and minimal direction, so that they have to self-create it, at least at first, and then I help them out towards the end. But it's a lot of fun, and you don't need any musical experience to do it.
What is the main difference between your retreats and then your workshops?
So I do retreats, I do trainings, and I do workshops. So the retreats are usually 3-day events where I bring in a lot of different instructors, and we do everything from African dance and yoga classes and drumming to didgeridoo and acting. So we bring all the arts together, but all of them, the strand that runs through it is that it's accessible to anybody. So you don't have to be quote unquote good at it to be a part of it. And that's, if there was one philosophy that I live by, it's that one, that the arts are important even if you aren't great at it.
And I bet your kids love going and doing stuff like this with each other, with your family. It probably helps keep everybody close, right?
It does. All my kids are doing musical things. My oldest daughter's singing and playing guitar, and singing songs. My middle daughter's in theater. And those are all things that they found on their own. I made it a point not to push them into anything because of my position, and just happy that they found it. My son, who's going to be 10, just started drumming. He just decided he was interested, and so I'm tickled pink.
And what are some of the beliefs that you have? We hear a lot of things about now music therapy. And that's kind of along the lines, what are you doing? What are your feelings about that? Yeah,
so music therapy, so I'm not a music therapist, but I use a lot of things and a lot of techniques that music therapists use. And it is, what I'm finding is a very effective way at helping meet people's different problems. Everything from children with disabilities who I work with, kids with autism, I do programs with them. Everything from that to helping to relieve stress, to increasing social connection, even to reducing pain in children who have to go undergo operations. That they're finding more and more that music is something that can help even reduce the amount of anesthetic a child gets before they have surgery. So it's powerful stuff.
And how does music specifically help with that?
It provides a couple different things. So physiologically, when we experience vibration, like if we're singing, there's a nerve called the vagus nerve in the throat, and when you sing, or if you make a vowel sound, like a E sound or a O sound, it stimulates the nerve which is connected into the brain. And it gives the signal when that stimulation happens to the brain to release the feel-good chemicals. So chemicals like oxytocin and nitric oxide that tell the entire human system that it's time to relax. So physiologically, it creates a chemical change. The other thing it does is provide, like in a setting like at a children's hospital, it can provide a distraction for a child who's in a lot of pain. So for example, I have a friend of mine who's a music therapist at Children's Hospital in Pittsburgh. She told me a story of a little girl who needed an operation but couldn't undergo the anesthesia because of health problems. And the surgeons called, her name's Debbie, into the room, and Debbie saw the girl, and the girl was in distress, and Debbie just proceeded to ask her, so what kinds of things do you like? And so she liked ice cream and she liked soccer, and so Debbie started strumming some chords and made up a song on the spot about soccer, about ice cream, about all the things that the little girl liked. And the doctor looked from around the screen and said, keep going, because they were able to start. And as a result, Debbie played her through the whole operation without anesthesia, and the girl recovered and was fine. But before then, she was in a crisis. So just a simple song.
That is an amazing story.
Yeah.
And this whole work, you left touring to be with your children, and it's kind of transpired into working with other children.
That's right. My main, the main people I work with, all different folks, everywhere from pre-K the whole way to senior citizens. I teach at St. Francis University, so I'm with college students a lot. But one of my main missions is that I not only do the programs, but I'm teaching people how to do what I do, so other people can begin to lead them, because I know my time on the planet's finite. And there's a lot of things that are very effective that I've found just by trial and error over the years. And to that end, I have a book coming out called Drum Circle Leadership. And the goal of the book is to teach anybody, even if they're not a musician, how to lead creative, in-the-moment group music making.
Okay, can you give us like a summary of how would you go about being a leader in that kind of role when you've never done it before?
Absolutely. So it's all about, first, when we encounter a group of people and we introduce them to an instrument, typically the response is fear. I can't do this, I'm not good enough, and all the ideas that we get about what the arts are and what music is. And so my job at the very beginning is just to help people relax. I call it creating the condition. So we do things like shaking hands with each other, and I teach them simple techniques. I let them make some sound and try to get them to laugh a little bit so that they relax enough to be able to be even willing to try. Then I take them through an experience, I call it the Rhythm Seeds Drum Circle. And all that is I hold a rhythm for people. I have a big red drum, and I play a pattern over and over again. And I give them this direction, because they all have drums too, or some sort of percussion instrument. I give them a direction that says, okay, so in a moment, I'm going to start a rhythm. I want you to feel free to play whatever you like. Just do your best to make the group sound good. And then I start. And people do their thing. And interestingly, when I give them the direction to make the group sound good, even though they may have never done it before, it's never occurred that it hasn't sounded fantastic, because people are keyed into the idea of listening and making the group sound good. And that's the real foundation of the work.
Okay, have you done any other instrument? I know you love drumming, it's really passionate. Do you play any other instruments?
I do. I play guitar, I sing, I write. If I'm writing songs, the guitar is the main instrument for that. I'm actually in the middle of recording a record of all songs. It's a project called the Sun King Warriors, and it's like Americana funk rock.
So you have a very eclectic taste.
I do. I get bored quick, so I like to have a lot happening at once, and it keeps each project feeds the other, and it's I've been on the planet long enough to know that if I've got something that I'm afraid of, I got to run towards it, like run right towards it. And for me, public speaking was one of those things. Standing and singing in front of people is another one of those things. And so I'm actually in the midst of doing that right now.
What does the future hold for you?
Hopefully, I've got more time in the world here. I see. Well, the Drum Circle Leadership book will be out in about a month. There's a companion learning library to it, so it's a video library that if people want to learn this, they can read the book and then watch the corresponding videos. I have plans to do a couple other books that are similar, that deal more with the voice and melody. So these are sort of my main life works as I see them, my contribution to the planet. That's the main stuff.
You have a lot of educational stuff going on. Have you ever thought about rekindling your old band? Are you still in contact with your?
I'm still friends with them. I just saw Patrick just a few months ago. He came into the studio and recorded with me. The band is still together. They're still out doing touring. When I left, I said, please find somebody else. Don't stop on my account. And they did, which is great. Yeah, anything can happen. I have no plans to go back on the road. As long as my kids are home, I'm hanging with them.
What do you have, like a bucket list that you want to just complete and get done before?
A bucket list? I don't have a bucket list.
Like a musical bucket list? Like, have you ever thought about maybe even diversifying and doing something on Broadway?
It's a good question. I've gotten really good at realizing goals and creating things. So I don't if I have something that goes on the bucket list, I usually start it right away. Yeah, I think more of my bucket list is about my internal world. So getting a better handle on my own mind and how to quiet it down and really be more of a master of that. And I do that just through daily reflection, just sitting quietly and gathering myself. Another piece is supporting and being of service, helping people. Through my entire life, I've always had someone, drop out of the sky when I needed them the most and help out, providing, money or a place to be, a place to live. It's uncanny. So, one of the goals is just to keep paying that forward.
If somebody called you today, who would you want to call you today and be like, hey, you want to come play with me for a night?
Yeah, I'd go out with Paige and Plant and play all that stuff. I would do that for sure.
And you don't miss that? Do you want to do anything with your kids maybe one day, or maybe write a book with them, or?
Yeah, I'm sure that we'll perform. I've already taken my eldest daughter in to record, and we've done some of that already, and that's really satisfying. Helping to mentor, and then to watch her dream unfold, and let support that dream like other people supported mine. Yeah, I see that for sure.
Okay, and do you have a final thought that you would like to tell anybody, any of our viewers about your music or your?
Sure. So for me, beyond music is that just this idea that whatever it is that we're doing out there, to find a way to be of service to each other, to help each other, and to get past. I call it the me plan. So get past taking care just of yourself and find ways to help people. Because what I find is that the more I've been doing that, the more success I have, the happier I am, and the more peaceful I sleep at night.
Yeah, thank you so much for being on our show today. It's been great.
My pleasure.
Thank you, and we'll be right back in just a moment to wrap up Direction Northeast.
My name is Amanda Broom. I'm a mass communications graduate. I work behind and in front of the camera, and I got my start at Northeast State.
My name is Brad Ketcherin. I'm a registered nurse, and I got my start at Northeast State.
My name is Ann Rowell. I'm an actress, and I got my start at Northeast State Community College.
Get your start at Northeast State. Visit northeaststate.edu to register for classes. No matter where you're going, Northeast State is here to get you there.
That concludes our program for today. We have talked about synergy and connecting people through music. Community is very important to the students at Northeast State Community College. This program takes a look at a few of the things we find important. Until we meet next time, on behalf of the students, staff, and faculty of Northeast State Community College, I'm Emily Whitehead, and this is Direction Northeast.